trying to sync up this video was a bit of a nightmare. Hello everybody, Catchy1383 with Catchy Gaming, and I wanted to make this video for a while, a version versus version. I'm a bit late to the Paper Mario scene. I don't know how well that's going. I deleted my YouTube history to sort of eliminate certain elements from my timeline there and recommended videos. And unfortunately, a side effect of that was also getting rid of a lot of video game news. So I'm completely in the dark in regards to that. I also stopped going on X because it's just full of a bunch of idiots, to put it nicely. Anyways, so let's start this comparison. The GameCube version is going to be on the right side, and the Switch version is going to be on the left. This was a bit of a nightmare to sync up because the speeds of dialogue and stuff like that don't exactly line up. So I had to resync it a couple times. Not to mention when you get into gameplay elements where I'm controlling the character, it's just not going to match up there. But as you can see, it's not just a one-to-one remake. They've added several visual enhancements. The colors are brighter. The objects appear sharper on the screen. Now, part of the problem, yes, it is the GameCube, which was like originally a 4:3 aspect ratio. And then I go and pump it through a device that turns it into widescreen. And then after that, I put it through a capture card, so it's not gonna be quite as nice as it used to be. It kind of stretches out the images just a little. I mean, when you compare the two side by side, yeah, it's noticeable. But yes, the Switch is by far the most, superior in terms of its visuals. Like I said, brighter colors, sharper objects. You don't get those fuzzy lines around everything that was somewhat notorious for the GameCube, or I should say just that era of gaming in general. Now, the one thing I will mention is the GameCube ran at 60 frames per second while the Switch version only runs at 30. I don't know why. It's not that much of a graphical facelift to decrease it from 60 to 30, but I guess I could be wrong in that regards. That's more or less a sort of speculation on my part. I don't know, maybe somebody who, if anybody who ever watches this knows enough about tech to be able to explain why a much more powerful system couldn't run it at 60 frames per second, even though it's, yes, a visual facelift, just not as much as you would think that it would require it to drop in frames. And I also forgot to mention when I pushed it through my editing software, they changed the frame rate as well. So there's that. I think right now it's matching the 30 frames instead of the 60 frames. And there you see it, the startup screen. You had to wait through that before you actually started the game. And this is when I resynced it again when Mario first arrives at Rogueport. And honestly, there's not really much going on here. I already said that, yes, the visuals are far superior on the Switch versus that of the GameCube. And the gameplay is more or less intact, except for one part which I'll get towards at the end of the game. At least that I noticed. I haven't played through enough of it to see any other differences they may have added. I will say that I am able to skip through text faster on the GameCube, which doesn't make sense, but that's what happens. Anyways, I'm just going to let the audio play for one of them. Probably the Switch, because it'll be better than that of the GameCubes. So the audio, yes, is going to be better on the Switch. Again, a much more advanced system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some of the GameCube audio, and then I'm going to let some of the Switch audio play.
Oh, yes. Oh.
Now, let's get to the infamous sewer scene. At least it's become infamous to some degree. Most people don't care, and I usually don't. And I think they made some changes to the dialogue that actually makes sense, at least on a narrative side. I mean, you come across Goombella here, and she's not hostile. Same for the professor. Then you go into the sewers, and all of a sudden, all the Goombas are hostile. Now, you would think that because they're Goombas, they're naturally going to hate Mario, but they give them a reason to be hostile towards the whole party in general, because they're from up above, and they're sewer dwellers down here. And you run into multiple Goombas as you go through the game. Now, the reason for changing it, I don't agree with. I think it's kind of dumb and petty on some people's parts. I mean, if they just went with, yeah, it makes more sense because, like I said, previously stated, your ground dwellers or surface dwellers, and they're sewer dwellers, and they don't like each other, so they're going to attack you. It makes sense. And one other thing I've sort of actually noticed is that a lot of the Switch characters emote more, while the GameCube characters are a little bit more static and blank, starey kind ofness. If you pay attention to the Goombas at the start of this battle, they're leaning over, they're making eye gestures, emoting compared to that of the GameCube. And you see that throughout the other characters in the game. I mean, even when you saw Goombella here, you could see that she was emoting more than what she was doing in the GameCube version. And I'm really hoping it's Goombella. I mean, he's probably said her name a bunch of times, but I'm not reading the screen, and I'm doing this sort of off the cuff, no script. So hopefully it's Goombella. Pretty sure it is. If not, she's now known as Goombella. But again, this is pretty much when I stopped trying to sync up footage. And part of that was I knew what I was doing the second time when I was going through. I think I did the GameCube version first, and then I did the Switch version second. So I was able to bypass some of the gameplay things. I shouldn't say bypass, do some of the gameplay parts faster than I did on the GameCube. It's been years since I played the GameCube version, so I had to sort of refresh my memory how to do certain things. And again, the dialogue is faster on the GameCube, in my opinion, because I can skip through it faster than I could on the Switch. And when I say skip, I mean I'm actually reading it, because you can actually force it to print out the whole entire text conversation faster than you can on the Switch. I think with that, it's obvious that, yes, the Switch version on a visual and audio level are far superior. But there's one last thing I wanted to cover, and that is a bonus system they had in the game. So you can see the power-up thing where you hit the, I guess, facial icons of the characters, and that heals and gives you flower points. Now, there's one other part of the set that you took out, and apparently because it was similar to gambling, and in certain countries gambling is illegal, they took it out because, like I said, it resembles gambling. I mean, they could have easily, I don't know, added a random chance of it happening without displaying it, so it didn't feel like it was gambling. And it feels a little weird to call it gambling when there's no money involved in any shape or form. It's just something that happens. I mean, there isn't even fake money in-game for you to exchange in order to possibly get something out of it. But like I said, the thing that kind of irritates me about it is that, yes, in a clutch moment, it can help you survive a battle. The other aspect that I didn't notice in call it a remake at this point, because that's basically what it is they took out the audience throwing things at Mario, and that Mario has an option to thwump them. I don't know, maybe he decided it was bad to thwump an audience member, even if they are trying to hurt you, and I'm guessing they took that out in general, and also because you accidentally flump a member of the audience trying to help you as well. So I can only speculate on that. I'd have to ask some questions, and I don't have nearly the reputation or pull to be able to land an interview with anybody to ask these questions of why they made certain changes, for sure. With that, though, let's just reiterate that yes, on a visual level and an audio level, it is a far superior game. It has more presentation, brighter colors, a much sharper image. Although, yes, it is at 30 frames per second versus 60, and that's actually one of the questions I would ask is why did they drop it down so far? And it, again, that doesn't make sense because they have games that run at 60 frames per second. It just, this one does not seem like it would be that demanding to do so. Could be wrong about that. I don't know enough about the hardware. I know some basics about analyzing hardware, but not enough to be able to speculate or even talk about that. Anyways, this is my version versus version. I might do a more in-depth one later, but I don't think I really need to, even though it's like the first 30 minutes of the game. And yes, I am very aware of Vivian. I honestly don't have enough cultural knowledge of Japanese to know or care, to be honest. It seems kind of benign to me, but that's just me. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.